focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast on this August 19th, 2025. We're going to have Pastor Jack Hibbs out of California with us tonight. Many of you know who that is. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, let all your family and friends know. We are about to have with us Pastor Jack Hibbs. We're also going to have with us Brad Dacus. Brad and I have known each other for 30 years. He's with Pacific Justice Institute. Today, there was a big rally. I guess several thousand people showed up. And at the state capitol in California, Sacramento to be precise. And it all had to do with a big piece of legislation that has already passed the House there in California, AB 495, headed for the Senate. It impacts every one of us. Folks, because this bill will allow people to kidnap your kids right out of the school in California. But not only that, being that they're a sanctuary state, take a child from any state, get them to California, and they will get the full help of the government of California to keep your child away from you for abortion care, LGBTQ, whatever they claim it might be. Even if it's not reality, they could claim that. So let's say a older guy, 22, 23, starts somehow getting involved with your 15, 16-year-old, and they're able to get your daughter, your granddaughter to California. They're able to stay there with the full weight of the government. Within a matter of a few weeks, change her name. Yeah. Hide her identity. It's hard to believe this is happening, but it is. And the attorneys keep saying, we're not overstating the case. This is reality. It's in the bill. We heard about it first in great detail from our friend Nicole Pearson. So Brad will join us tonight. And then we're going to hear from Jack Hibbs as well. And then we're going to play some of the speeches, not all of them, but a few of the chosen speeches, because I listened to a lot of them today live. And I thought, hey, we've got to grab a few of these. They're good. If you go to worldviewreport.com, take a look at this. We put up tonight. Now you cannot say we didn't warn you. Full analysis of AB 495 from Facts, Law, Truth, and Justice. Okay? So there it is at worldviewreport.com. You should click on that and read the full analysis by our friend and attorney and mother, Nicole Pearson. This is no joke, folks. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Truth, Getter, whatever you do, get everyone here to learn more about this because it impacts every one of us, not just California. California will just simply be a place where your kids and grandkids can be taken with the help of the government to be hidden out and never returned. Not overstating it. You'll hear it from the pastor. You'll hear it from an attorney. But first up tonight, we want to talk with Nick Hulscher, epidemiologist. Nick Hulscher. He's going to talk to us about this right here. First, peer-reviewed paper defines COVID-19 induced turbo cancer. Wait a minute. I thought that was all conspiracy theory, talking about the COVID shot and turbo cancer, but now it's gone into a peer-reviewed paper. And there may be some progress for cancer. We'll tell you about a drug that's showing promise, good promise tonight. Nick Hulscher will check in. And so Nick Hulscher, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Brad Dacus, and then some of the keynote presentations from Sacramento today. Hey, before we get started, don't forget, here's a great way to support your health and us at the same time. No joke. This is a great way to support your health and us. This is Gatatana. It is a phytoplankton. Say it right, House. It's a phytoplankton, and it goes right to your cells to feed your mitochondria. I take it every day. I drink it every day. You see me drink it a lot of nights right here on the air. I give half a scoop to Dolly. There's a pet product, $20 cheaper to get the pet product. So we don't share mine with Dolly anymore. We save money. We get the pet product. But every morning I sprinkle a half a scoop on Dolly's food. Great for her teeth, keeps her teeth white, and of course, helps boost her own immune system to fight off things like cancer. Cancer. They don't like us saying that word. They like to give it to you by giving you the COVID shot and turbo cancer, but God forbid you talk about something that might actually prevent cancer. then the Federal Trade Commission wants to come down on you. Yeah. Well, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you, the man that inspired it, Tom Harper, he had terminal cancer, started eating the phytoplankton he was raising for his shellfish, and his 11 biopsies came back benign. His terminal diagnosis, well, he ended up living another 10 years, died in his 80s, we're told. It's been a write-up, been completely written up in the papers up in Canada. We're not making up conspiracy theories. There it is right there. Man figures plankton stopped his rare cancer. Yeah, Tom Harper. And so from that, Global Plankton Alliance was born. We've been taking it a long time now. And you can get it at melissahousegpa.com. It's a great way to support us and your health because they give us a little contribution for every one of you that gets on it. So if you're thinking, I'd like to support Brannon's work and Worldview Tube, but I'd like to get something for other than just the programming, I'd like to get something for it. Well, you can do that. Start taking this phytoplankton. Take Bella Grace. Swish with Numi. These are all great ways to support your health like I do. So there's one right here, melissahousegpa.com. Stir it up. You don't want to leave any of it on the bottom of the glass because it's too precious. There you go. And then you, of course, like I said, you want to take the Bella Grace, which I've already taken today. There it is. Already took that. So get that, Melissa House BG. Look at that head of hair. I like to show that to you. I tell you what, when I do my hair every morning, blow dry my hair, and I'm thinking, man, I did not have this head of hair a few years ago. I started taking Bella Grace. Isn't that right, Logan? It is. It's true. Logan knows it. He was the one showing me a picture of myself from a few years ago. It's like, look at that. You were going thin on the head there. Yep. It's Bella Grace. I'm telling you. The collagen peptides cut short your body digest it. Then you got the added benefit of the astaxanthin, which takes on free radicals, crosses the brain-blood barrier. And then you've got the cat's claw, which reduces the inflammation. melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. I also swish with this every day. This is called Numi. I don't do this on the air because you have to swish with this for 3 minutes. So that would make for pretty boring television. Swish for 3 minutes, and then you can spit it or swallow it. And you got glutathione in your blood cell, within your bloodstream, I should say, within 90 seconds. Within 90 seconds, glutathione to detox your cells. It's a natural, all-occurring natural molecule in your body that starts to decrease around age 20. You literally cannot live without glutathione. If you don't have any glutathione in your body, you die, right? Some studies show it may help remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. So very, very important. All right. Joining me now is Pastor Jack Hibbs. He organized the rally today at the state capitol in California in Sacramento. We'll bring you some of his remarks along with that of other folks tonight as well. But he joins us now from California. Pastor Jack Hibbs, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Listen, thanks for having me. Very much. Thank you. We got to get the word out, and you're being part of it right now.
Well, we appreciate your leadership on this. And we have played the video clip for our audience while we interviewed, of course, attorney Nicole Pearson, who's been a guest of ours for now a few years, a regular consultant here. Of course, we have a mutual friend. Hadia Miramonde is our friend and going to be at our conference. And I think she attends your church. She'll be at she'll be at our National Worldview Weekend, our 22nd annual Worldview Weekend in the Mid-South in Tennessee in October. So we have some mutual friends there. Jeff and Jill Cox. Jill is my editor. So we have a lot of mutual friends. Even though this is our first time to meet, we have a lot of people we know. But we played the video of you at your church saying, and I've never heard a pastor say this, and I said to my audience, when a pastor spends years building up a flock, and then he says to them, hey, if this bill passes and you got kids, you're going to have to leave the state. I said, he's being serious. You don't build up a flock and then just tell them all to leave for no reason. He believes it, and it's hard to believe this, but the attorneys keep apologizing to us, saying, I know this sounds over the top. I know it sounds like maybe we're exaggerating, but this is the law. Warn our audience about HB AB 495, please, Pastor.
Yeah, actually, you nailed it. What kind of a pastor would ever say, if this bill passes, you need to pack up and get out of the state? That's the last thing a pastor would ever want to say. And so I'm not leaving. My kids are raised and gone and doing great and all that. Point is, this is a bill, again, and I'm gonna state what has been stated to me by our attorneys, and they're more than a few. That AB 495 is, if it's passed by Gavin Newsom into law, anyone who has a computer and a printer can print out from the state's website an affidavit. It's a legal document. They are asked on that document, have you attempted to reach the parents? Yes or no? They check a box. Doesn't matter. Either way, they check a box. Then they sign it. Listen to this. They sign it, and it says that ID is recommended. It's not required. No background check, no license, no passport, no nothing, no address to whoever this individual is or where they live. They go to the school, because it's an affidavit, the school must give the child into the hands of this person who's requesting the child. No questions asked. The school cannot get involved. And what's remarkable is this bill has been written by a California Assembly member. Listen to this. You can watch her on YouTube. Leticia Rodriguez. She says, or Celeste Rodriguez, excuse me, Celeste Rodriguez. She says, I wrote this bill because what if a child who is in California school, their parents get arrested because they're here illegally during the day by Trump's ICE? What's to become of the child? So this is a compassionate bill, she said. What she fails to recognize is that the California Department of Education Code 234.7 already takes that into account. If parents were to get killed in a car crash or somebody didn't pick up a child for whatever reasons, there's already a law in the books that makes sure that that child is not abandoned at school, but taken into protective custody until a next of kin is found. This bill is what you're probably hearing, and what we've heard from our attorneys is a pedophile, trafficker, human trafficking dream come true. And at the end of the day, when you go to pick up your child, now everybody put yourself in the parent's shoes. They go to pick up their kid that they dropped off, and they happen to be legal, and their kid is legal, but their kid's not there. Because the bill, listen to this, the attorneys have all concluded, and I'm not going to name them, but you know who they are. They said, in most cases, the devil is in the details. In this case, the bill is so hideous that it's such a vaguely written bill with broad interpretation that anybody can take any child from any location, preschool, maybe private school, because it doesn't only say public, and take your child away in the name of compassion. And that's why we're still trying to figure it out. We saw somewhere today between 5,000 to 6,000 people make way here to Sacramento, to the Capitol. And listen, KFI News out of Los Angeles, Newsmax was there, Fox News, they're on it. This is a big deal. We had people come and introduce themselves to me who are grandparents who drove from Las Vegas because their grandchildren live in California and they're terrified by this bill. And so they should be.
Well, I'm glad to hear that Newsmax and a Fox affiliate was there and others, because prior to, you're saying that, I'm not seeing this getting the national attention it should be. It's really a grassroots effort. It's grassroots and very conservative and Christian radio networks. We're on 74 Christian stations every day. We're going to play this tomorrow on our 74 Christian stations, our interview that we're doing here with you on TV tonight. We're going to re-air it on radio and television, simulcast tomorrow. But other than a few Christian outlets, this has kind of gotten crickets from the mainstream national media. Even conservative talk radio and talk TV isn't talking about it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, what's the agenda, right? What's up? Now, here's what's great, is we happen to have some great, wonderful believers who actually work inside the U.S. Capitol. I'm sorry, the California Capitol. We heard about this before anybody did. And so when I first blew the whistle publicly, everybody denied it. Everybody said, you're being crazy. Are you crazy? There's no such thing. And then they began to Google it, and lo and behold, and here's the bottom line, these California legislators, they do not want to be found out. You got to remember, they're a supermajority. Democrats, they don't have to put anything to the vote of the people. They just stamp stuff through as they wish and carry out Gavin Newsom's desires. And we've got to be, as believers, as pastors, I'm commanded to be a watchman on the wall to blow the trumpet of warning. Ezekiel chapter 3 tells me. And Jesus said that we need to be salt and light. And so this is not an option to sit it out or not. This is just sheer obedience to God. And so, am I willing to take the threats that we've been receiving and all this stuff? Absolutely willing, because you know what? My life, I've lived a great life. The bottom line is this: I'm not home yet. Heaven is my home. And until I go to heaven, I and we will fight for righteousness. You, brother, you're standing for righteousness. We've got to, and that's simply doing the right thing and putting our faith into action. And I'm not running for public office. I will not run for public office. I'm not a politician. I'm not getting involved in politics. What I'm standing for is a worldview biblical right that a parent has in the state of California to protect their child at all costs against now a weaponized state that is literally somehow getting into the trafficking business here in California. And we're not going to let anybody forget this.
And I want to make sure that our audience understands tonight, this isn't just California.
Yes, exactly.
Because if you get a child and you grab them from, Memphis, Tennessee, Rockford, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, wherever it might be, if you can get them to California, you can fill out this one piece of paper, and the power and the resources of the federal government will help change their name and all their IDs. And basically within a few weeks, they're in the system and you can't even find them. That's what Nicole Pearson's told us.
I tell you what, here's a scary thought. Imagine, again, your child, you go to pick your child up and she's not there. In California, she could be anywhere. California is more international than probably any other state. She could be in Canada in an hour and a half. She could be in Mexico in 10 minutes. You don't know where she's at. You don't know where to start looking. And then you ask the school administration, who took my daughter? They respond to you saying, we are not obligated to release that information. So you can see how this is going to go down through the courts, all that kind of stuff. And this is where our attorneys have told us that's exactly what the author wants. Because if you get this before a California judge, then you're just getting a Democrat implant that's on the bench. And, apart from God, good luck, because this is absolutely egregious. And you said it right. I'll add this as well. What, pray tell, happens in California that only stays in California? Answer: nothing. Whatever happens in California is going to pop up in Oregon. It's going to pop up in Washington State. Then it's going to pop up in Colorado, then New Mexico. And you know what I'm saying. It's going to eventually pop up in blue states. And the blue states are going to have to go through what we've been going through here. And that is, since Newsom became governor, over 1 million people have moved out of the state of California. And we've actually lost political representation because our population is shrinking. Only at the hands of Gavin Newsom could this have happened.
I want to point everybody to jackhibbs.com. Here's the website. Let's take a look at that website. jackhibbs.com. Jack Hibbs, Hibbs, if you're listening on radio, jackhibbs.com. You can find out more about what he's up to and his radio show and TV show. And of course, he's pastor at Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. And he loves, like I do, and our radio audience and TV audience, he loves Bible prophecy, something sadly that is not being taught enough of today. So we appreciate him at so many levels. And of course, Pastor, your leadership on this. It's great to see you leading on this. I know a lot of pastors, sadly, have told their congregations, we don't do politics, but I know the original meaning of the word means affairs of the city. And we know God created family government, civil government, church government. They're to complement each other. So I don't know how any Christian with a Christian worldview, biblical worldview, cannot speak up and stand up on these issues. And now the IRS has said we're free to actually do some of this more and more as churches. So we're thankful for that. But I want to thank you for your leadership, because you brought this to the attention of so many And you always have a platform here to get out the message. We're glad to partner with you whenever necessary. So thank you for being a leader on this.
I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for getting the word out. Take care. Thank you again.
Pastor Jack Hibbs checking in tonight. Check out his website, jackhibbs.com. A very important issue, of course, guys. AB 495. All right, what I want to do now is go to some remarks by Pastor Jack Hibbs at this rally that took place. We recorded it all today to bring to you tonight because we know it is important that people understand this does not just impact California, folks, as you've heard. It impacts all of us, regardless of where you live. So wake up, Americans. Listen to what Pastor Jack Hibbs had to say today at the rally.
Hey, welcome everybody here to the AB 495 rally. And we want to welcome our very own Real Life Network and all of the viewers that we have watching right now from all over the United States and some even outside of the country right now. And that's a very wise thing to be doing because Assembly Bill 495, it is so bad, it is so dangerous that every one of you in every state of this great union, you need to be aware of the fact that if it passes here, if Gavin Newsom passes this, then it's going to be coming to your state in short order. You don't want that to happen. In fact, I just met a man a moment ago who drove from Arizona to stand here to defend his grandchildren who live in California. And so we're going to have a stream of speakers coming to you in just a moment, but we have gathered together as a setup, everyone. The setup is this. We are exercising not only our constitutional freedoms, but we are exercising what our flag bears over this great building. And that is on the California state flag. It is the California Republic. And if you can hear my voice right now, wave your arms and be part of that republic. Awesome. Awesome. That means you have the say about what they do with your decision. It's you. This is a representative form of government, which means our laws say we're the ones that send our opinions, our decisions through really an ambassador, an assembly individual, maybe a state senator. And they are to argue that belief of yours. They're to listen to you. They are not to be elected by you and then promote their own passions and their own desires. That's not the government of this United States, nor is it the government of California. We need to go back to our Constitution of this great state. That all said, everything we're doing is all legal. Everything that we're doing is all in the exercise of our constitutional rights. It's all legitimate. But this is exactly what evil fears. This is it. You guys are all shining examples of what it means to make a difference. And so this is a very critical time. We believe, we are praying. By the way, let me dispel a rumor. I've had so many people ask me, and they either, maybe somebody edited my announcement on this, but I know what I said. And when I publicly announced this bill several weeks ago, I did not say that I was leaving California. I did not say that. I've always said I'm not leaving California, and I'm not leaving California. Here's what I said. I said, if you have children in this state, and if Newsom signs this, you need to get out of the state of California. You need to protect your child. Because look, as a pastor, do we want pastors in the crowd? Do we want our churches to grow? Of course we do. It didn't excite me to say to our congregation, hey, if he passes it, you got to go. But what trumps anything and everything about this is the innocence of our children. I don't care if our church goes down from 10,000 to 10. That's God's problem. It's our responsibility to defend our children. And so with that, I'm going to ask right now for you guys to somehow find the shade that you can, get a hat on your head, drink some water, spread the word wherever there might be a bathroom. That's the hot commodity for today. But Lord, we ask you to bless this, that for every person here, it might seem as though there's 10,000 to the one. Optically, with influence, We could have all stayed home, but we've made our way here in defense of our children and any and every child in the state of California. Even if they're illegally here, we still pray their protection. And this bill is the absolute offense, and you know it, Father God, more than anybody else. We're asking you to hear our pathetic little cry, but it's a cry to a great and awesome God. Lord, heal our land, we pray. And we've gathered together to do that very thing. Remind from our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and all the way down to our local dog catcher, that everyone will answer to God in the end for the decisions that they've made with the opportunities provided them. So, Lord, we pray that we would conduct ourselves knowing that you are God and we are not, and Sacramento belongs to Jesus Christ. Amen.
Joining me now is Brad Dacus with Pacific Justice Institute. He spoke at the rally today in Sacramento. I want to bring that speech to you, but first I want him to join us. Brad and I actually have been friends and worked together now for 30 years, since around the middle of 1990. We were 1995, I should say. I think we were introduced to each other, started working together thanks to Tom DeWeese with the American Policy Center. Brad joins us now. Hi, Brad. Thanks for being with us. Great to see you again.
Oh, it's great to be interviewed by you, Brannon. You do such great work for so long. It's always a pleasure to be on your program.
Thank you. Great to have you here. Boost my volume in my ear a little bit, guys, if you would. Brad, you did a great job speaking today at the event. We're going to play that speech of yours in a moment. You've been doing this an awfully long time, Brad. Have you ever seen a piece of legislation like what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah, no, I haven't. We at Pacific Justice Institute, we have 36 offices coast to coast, 6 here in California, 280 cases in active litigation. We've been helping thousands and thousands on different issues and dealing with and challenging different bills. In all of my days, I have never seen this egregious of an assault on parental rights as this legislation is being proposed, AB 495, here in the state legislature. Right now it's in the state Senate here in Sacramento, California. So it's very, very dangerous. It's outrageous. It lets a stranger, Brannon, who doesn't even know a child necessarily, just print out a sheet of paper, sign it, and just go right on into the school and take the child. It could be in a public school, maybe a child even a private school, maybe even a homeschooler who's getting like piano lessons somewhere. They go right in, they can take the child, no background check. It is insane, absolutely insane, and it's actually it still has a very good chance of passing, and the governor, Gavin Newsom, signing into law.
And I want to make sure everybody understands tonight, this is not just a California issue, is it?
Oh, no. In fact, if this passes, what we're looking at is actually a good chance of other states, starting with blue states, adopting something like this. It's under the guise of, helping children from parents who are being deported. Well, even if that was the case, first off, it's so broad it applies to every parent. But even if that was the case, it would still be inhumane because it would deny parents the rights who are being deported to keep their kids. Instead, it makes it easy for strangers to rip away children from families, moms and dads that are being deported. So it makes absolutely no sense at all. There's no checks and balances at all in this legislation. And every family with children in California are at risk. And if this becomes law, and if Governor Gavin Newsom, for whatever reason, if he ends up being president someday and after 2028, we could see him pushing this federally down the throats of parents all throughout the United States of America. It'd be catastrophic.
But what about even if other states don't adopt the legislation and copy it? Can't someone in another state just simply grab a child, bring them to California as a sanctuary state related to abortion or LGBTQ, sign that one document, and boom? So in other words, won't this make legal kidnapping of children and bringing them to California and getting protection of the full power of the government of California a reality?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. So right now, existing law allows someone from California to kidnap a child in another state like Dallas, Texas, or St. Louis, Missouri, and rip that child. And if they get that child in California without being caught by police in other states, then they're off the hook. The existing law says you can kidnap a child, not be prosecuted, and the state will ignore any order from a judge in another state to return the children. And this is if the reason you took the child was to help them distort their bodies, gender distortion. It's sick, very evil,
or
very
abortion,
sick.
or abortion pills, right?
Yes, and then, but this bill says, you know what? It doesn't have to be for gender distortion or abortion. You know what? If you just, it can be just to care for the child, and as long as you sign the affidavit, you can take that child, and you're going to allege that the parents, you couldn't get a hold of the parents. That's it. There's no background checks, no calling the police required. It's hideous. It's horrific. And that's why we at Pacific Justice Institute are standing strong against it, because we are a major defender of parental rights all throughout the country.
What percentage did it pass, the numbers in the House there in California?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I can say it wasn't close. The party in control has a solid, strong majority in both the House and the Senate of California, the Assembly and the Senate. So it's already passed there. Right now it's in the state Senate. We're going to have to see if it makes it through there. And if it does, Governor Gavin Newsom already said he's going to sign it. I like to think he has enough political common sense to know that if he signs this, he's asking parents all throughout America to oppose him when he runs for president in 2028.
Well, and then in the Senate, you have every reason to believe it'll pass in the Senate in California?
Yeah, it has a very good chance of passing in the state Senate. But you know what? There were thousands of people, thousands of moms and dads here at the state capitol, more than I've ever seen, I think, in my lifetime. So hopefully if the governor peeks out the window and the senators peek out the window, maybe they'll change their mind. That's our hope.
Jack Hibbs, has openly said to his congregation, if this passes, you guys with children have to leave the state. I mean, can you think about that? You know how serious he's taking this if he's talking about asking his own congregation to leave the state. You don't spend years building up a church and then say that unless you're dead serious. So he clearly is urging his people to get out if this becomes law.
Yeah, he's never said anything like this before, but he understands the threat of it. And he's been very effective in mobilizing so many people to come here to the state capitol. And mind you, this was not based on hype. This is based on fact. Our attorneys have scrutinized this bill. And this, what I'm saying is what it is exactly what it is. And it's very, very dangerous. And how can any parent want to have their children in a state or a country where their child can be just taken from them by a random person and they don't get them back? If you were in another country, if I was in another country with my kids, I would leave that country immediately if they passed something like this. So in a way, it's very rational and very reasonable for Pastor Jack Hibbs to make such a suggestion for those who have children who are vulnerable to being seized by human traffickers, pedophiles, estranged spouses, you name it.
I had a documentary that came out in 2018 called Sabotage. And then one came out in 2020 called Siege. And the one in 2020, I used the word Civil War, comma, World War III, comma, and, mentioned the various things that we were going to talk about. Some people were like, do you really want to use the word Civil War? That was in 2020. And I said, yeah, because when you have states refusing to obey the laws, and you have them becoming sanctuary cities, breaking the law, what else are you going to call this? And I think we already are in some form of a civil war. I know Daniel Greenfield, he's in the documentary, he says, a lot of people think that a civil war is people shooting at each other. He said, that's how a civil war ends. He said, civil war is when people do not respect the rule of law, right? And I'm not talking about just because someone makes a law, you know this, that we have to follow it. There's the laws of nature, nature's God. There's certain laws that go against because as you and I know, our rights are God-given. not government given, and the government is
Right.
to secure those rights. So yes, legislation, laws can be passed, and we say we're not going to follow because they're not in accord with the Constitution, a biblical worldview, or the laws of nature, nature's God. But what we have going
Right.
on now with many of these states is just the flagrant violation of, well, parental authority, a biblical right of parents to their children. The things going on are just so, if we're on the other side, right? If it was the right doing something, the left would all say we're insurrectionists, we're J6ers, you know. But reality is the people on the left, whether it's California and these other states, I believe many of them have already declared a civil war. We have the school board in Fairfax County, Virginia, saying we're not going to follow the Department of Justice when it comes to a girl who thinks she's a boy going into the boys' restroom in Fairfax County. That was in Loudoun County. And the parents, the boys were like, we don't want to be in there with that, right? And they're the ones that got charged. Those boys are in trouble and suspended because they simply refused to share a bathroom and locker room with a girl who thinks she's a boy. They got charged with sexual harassment, right? The point I'm making is here you have the DOJ making this ruling under President Trump. And we have the lady in charge of the Fairfax County Schools saying, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. At what point do you think we are already involved in a civil war with the flagrant following of the rule of law and the Constitution?
Yeah, so I'll just answer this. So, we have a flagrant disregard for the law. We have judges disregarding the law, coming down with judgments that are not within their authority and power. We have this happening at a record pace. And we have legislators trying to pass things or do things that are in violation of the Constitution. But make no mistake, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we've held the state of California to taking them to task before the Supreme Court and won more than once. We've taken on challenges in other states as well. We have 36 offices coast to coast, 280 cases in active litigation as we speak, like I said. So we stand ready to stand by parents and others whose rights are being violated without charge. And that's the key right here, Brannon, is we have to stand up to it. We have to make our voice heard. And we at Pacific Justice are doing it in the courts and in the legislature. We've got 6 states by our efforts to pass laws saying boys can't go into girls' sports. So there's a pushback. It takes effort. It takes initiative. If people want to know their rights as a parent, by the way, they want to have their right to opt out their children from hideous things in schools. We have a whole new updated version of that. It's all free on our website, pji.org. And they can also sign up to get our free e-newsletter, which is simply the Legal Insider. And we're here to serve, and we do all our work without charge. So please contact us, let us know. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be interviewed today. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Final question, Brad. Did you ever think in your career, I've known you for 30 years, did you ever think you would see this level of immorality in our country, the thwarting of the rule of law, lawlessness by judges, members of the legislature, elected officials, governors, absolute lawlessness? Did you ever think you'd see this?
No, I didn't. But I also never thought I would see a Supreme Court that we have overturn Roe versus Wade, putting the bureaucrats in check, and a president occupying the White House that is for every American and making this country great, and some of the strongest leadership I've ever seen. Excellent. So we got some ugly things, but when I flip the coin, I'm equally surprised at some really awesome things that I know are going to help us push freedom and liberty farther over the next decade than I think we've ever imagined as well. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, let's pray to that end. PacificJustice.org, PacificJustice.org. Brad, thank you so much for being with us and what you're doing to defend parental authority, religious freedom, God-given rights. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brannon. Keep up your good work, too. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take a look at his website again here, guys. There it is. Let me push the button. Is my button not working tonight? There it is. All right, specificjustice.org. And as you scroll through there tonight, guys, you're going to find that they have a whole segment on this bill. You use the little arrows going across. There it is. Say no to AB 495. Folks, this is not just a California issue. We just explained why. I'm a little shocked that this isn't making bigger news among more conservative outlets, but it's really not. It's really not. This is more of a grassroots movement. But of course, that's why we're covering it, because we're more of a grassroots organization and broadcast network. But this should be everywhere. It should be everywhere. But we're bringing it to you tonight because we know you are very concerned about it, as are we. But again, folks, we can't do any of this without your help. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Folks, look at all the people we give a platform to. Patrick Wood, Annie Cyrus, Dr. Andy Woods, J.J. Carroll, Rob Lindstead, Tamara Scott, Colonel Rob Manus, Aaron Lavarco out of Israel. I mean, the list goes on and on. All the people we give a platform. You know, we don't charge them anything. You guys know that, right? We don't send them a bill and say, here's your bill, pay your bill for TV production and airtime. No, we don't charge any of them. A lot of networks don't do that. Do you know that? Can I let you in a little secret? Some of the conservative networks you enjoy, I won't name which ones or one, but did you know that I'm told that some of those folks buy their time slots? Yeah, they buy their time slots. We don't ask any of our hosts to buy their time slot because that's not the way we want to run a business. Who's got the best money or the most money? We want good content that's in agreement with our Christian, biblical, constitutional worldview. So we give all of these people a platform and TV production for free to bring you, our viewers, the best programming that you can get to stay informed, to understand the times, and then know how we should respond. And that's what we do. But somewhere along the way, we've got to try to pay for all this. Our bandwidth bill alone is like $8,000, just our bandwidth bill, to push out free programming. We need your support. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Now, with that, I want to share with you right now the keynote presentation by Brad Dacus that he delivered today at the state capitol, Sacramento, California. Listen to this.
Okay, so we are now inviting Brad Dacus from Pacific Justice Institute, who's been fighting with us for years. Give a warm welcome to Brad.
Hi there. Thank you. As many of you know, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we know California pretty well. We've been here for 30 years. Our headquarters office is here in Sacramento. And for a long time, we've been defending religious freedom and parents' rights. Right now, we have 280 cases in active litigation, all without charge, to go to bat for you and the parents in California especially. We also have now, by God's grace, 36 offices coast to coast, so we're keeping busy. But I will tell you this, of all of what we've seen, I have never in my life witnessed such a great attack on parents and parental rights over their children. We at Pacific Justice Institute, we've been in court protecting children who are taken by social workers because of the faith and the conviction of parents. Right over here in Placer County is one example. We've dealt with schools trying to secretly groom children without parents knowing about it. But make no mistake, this legislation, if it becomes law, opens the floodgate to strip away all parental rights at any time to any family, no matter what the reason. It allows a stranger with an affidavit to take children, as was said before. No background check is required. There's no, like foster homes, there's no inspecting the home. In fact, the stranger can take the child and flee the country, or provide the child with all kinds of gender distorting things. This is a nightmare of nightmares. Either one or two things. I was talking to one of the legislators. We agree at one or two things. Either one, this is the epitome of incompetent, unqualified legislative activity, or it's the deepest, darkest, most sinister piece of legislation. I will say this. Public school parents, it's so vague it can apply to public schools, private schools, even homeschoolers. And really what this should be called is the human traffickers, pedophiles, estranged spouse bill, a protection bill. You know, last Sunday I was guest preaching at a Calvary Chapel, Chino Valley. Awesome church. And it was really exciting what God did at the end of that service too. It was awesome. But we were preaching out of Esther chapter 4. Mordecai and Esther were outnumbered, outgunned. Everything was against them. And yet they stood up because they knew that they could do it, because they knew God was on their side. And because of that, it had a happy ending. Folks, let's be involved. Our children count too much. It is far too much a priority, and I encourage you to get your resources. Go to pji.org to get the resources and get the updates on our cases. We must be involved. We must be engaged for such a time as this.
All right, guys, we'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. All right, guys, before we continue, I want to bring you a couple more keynote presentations. They're not long, but they're very important. But before we do, don't forget about our national conference coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. People are registering now in bigger numbers. I guess, you know, people got out of vacation mode finally, and they're registering, and you want to be a part of it. Worldviewstore.com for full details. All the hotels, and by the way, there are special links there, so you get reduced hotel rates that we've negotiated with these hotels. So be sure to check the hotels that we have at worldviewstore.com. The tickets are only $99. We've brought the price way down because moving it to the Mid-South, we've saved a lot of money. We're passing the savings on to you. We are not trying to make money on this conference. We're just trying to hold an event, as we've been doing for years, to help educate and encourage and equip people. And so we'll probably lose money on this conference, to be honest with you, but they're only $99 a ticket. We wanted to make it affordable. So please travel to the Mid-South here in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. All the information, the restaurants to eat at, the hotels to stay at, Friday night, all day Saturday. Now you can come in for the Thursday night option banquet keynote address by Hedia. She'll have a keynote presentation during our banquet. I'll do a few numbers with my piano player, grand piano player, and it'll be a great evening. Beautiful meal. One of the most popular restaurants we have in the Mid-South. Melissa and I and Logan love it. The food is amazing, and they have a beautiful banquet hall. So again, if you can join us on that Thursday night, we'd love to have you. Full details, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Now, if you would only like a 50% of the blessing, 100% comes when you show up. The 50% is stay at home and live stream it, but you're going to miss out on the blessing of meeting the speakers in person, talking to them, fellowship with other like-minded Americans and conservatives and Christians, singing as I lead you in some songs from the platform. We're just going to have a great time. You're going to miss out on all that. But you can get 50% of it by staying at home and streaming it if you want to. It's better than nothing, right? worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. If you have a year membership, we're going to let you live stream it. worldviewtube.com/vault. All right. Let's go to a keynote presentation by Matt Sharp. He's an attorney with, something Defending Liberty. What is it, Logan? Alliance Defending Liberty, I think. I think that's it. And then Heidi, I think she's a homeschool mom. She was very articulate today when I heard her. I said, we have to play hers as well. So I want you to hear these two, and then we're going to hear a closing closing remarks by Jack Hibbs. But listen to these first two, will you? Here you go.
Okay, so next we have one of those great attorneys I told you about. Matt Sharp has been fighting for California for years, fought on many important bills that you all oppose. So please welcome Attorney Matt Sharp from Alliance Defending Freedom.
Well, good afternoon. At Alliance Defending Freedom, we are here to stand with you for your right to free speech, your right to religious liberty, your God-given right to train up your child in the way that they should go. But with increasing frequency, your right as California families to train your child, it's under attack, it's under assault, and AB 495 is the latest threat to come after your families and your children. How does it work? Well, under this bill, any person, no matter if they have any relation, with absolutely no proof, can come and execute an affidavit allowing them to make critical decisions. Decisions about your child's school, decisions about your child's medical care, their psychiatric care. And the person using this affidavit, they don't have to be a family member. They don't have to go through a background check. They don't even have to notify you as the parents that they're using the affidavit, much less get your permission as parents to make these decisions. And guess what happens when you try to object to someone using this affidavit? You may not have any recourse available to you. Why? Because under this law, a parent can only override the caregiver if the parent's decision does not, quote, jeopardize the health, safety, or life of the child. Now let's think about that, because what happens if a caregiver takes your child to get gender transition drugs and hormones? Will the parent who objects to these dangerous, sterilizing substances be told that their objection is overruled because their refusal to consent, their care for their child, jeopardizes their health and safety? Or what about a homeschool family? I know we've got homeschool families here. What if your desire to educate your children in your home is overruled as a safety risk? Because we know that those meritorious false claims have been hurled against great parents over the years who simply want to train up their child of how they should go. And you know what? This bill isn't just a threat for families. There's a lot of good teachers, a lot of good nurses, a lot of good doctors who under this law are going to be discouraged from asking questions, from making sure that a child is not being harmed or taken away from their parent. You see, under this bill, kids are going to be harmed. Families are going to be harmed. And if history is any indicator, the damage of AB 495 is not going to stay here within the four walls of this state. Time and again, we've seen how states copy bad policies that flow from these grounds and import them to their own states. So it's not just a threat to the thousands of California families, it's a threat to tens of thousands of families across America that are worried about a copycat law impacting their ability to train their kids how they should go. But that's not how this story has to end. Because we've also seen what can happen when families in California stand up and let your voices be heard. We can stop bad legislation like AB 495. We can stop it from becoming law. We can stop it from becoming a local policy in your school district. And we can stop it from being exported to any of the other states. So today, let this be the time and the place where we send a message to every lawmaker in that building behind us. Our families are off limits. Our children are off limits. And our God-given right and duty to raise, train, and care for our children is off limits. So as each one of you take a bold and courageous stand for parental rights, for families, and for your children, as each of you contend for the truth, and that's truth with a capital T, that children are entrusted to us as their parents who know and love them better than anyone else in the world. Know this: Alliance Defending Freedom stands with you, God stands with you, and we will prevail. God bless you all.
Next, let's welcome a great podcaster, Heidi St. John, author, homeschool advocate, and lover of children. Heidi.
Hello, California! How many of you guys are ready to take a stand and never sit down again? I have come to you today from the great state of Washington to let you know that people across the United States are standing with you today. They're praying for you today. And like you, we will never sit down again. My husband and I are the proud parents of 7 amazing children and the grandparents of 8 children. And I'm here today as a mother, as a grandmother, as a citizen of the United States, which was founded under the principles that would give God the glory, and more importantly, as a daughter of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I grew up in the 70s in a Christian home. My grandfather was a pastor, and I heard growing up over and over again from many other fellow Christians that Christians should never be involved in politics. I want to know, just by a brief show of hands, how many of you have heard the same thing? Yeah. So when we decided to give up our seat in the public square, the adversary filled the vacuum that God's people left behind. I'm here today to encourage you from the bottom of my heart to let today be a beginning of Christians in the state of California and across this great nation to never give the adversary a political advantage again. It matters now more than it ever has that God's people engage in the political process. In 2022, I did something that no one in my family has ever done, and I ran for Congress to represent Washington State's 3rd Congressional District. And people from all over the state wondered why a Christian homeschool mom would run for Congress when I had a perfectly good role to play as a wife and a grandmother and a podcaster. And this is what I said, and I want you to remember it. Politics determines policy, and policy shapes the nation. Why have God's people decided to abandon the policy-making sphere? God's people belong in every sphere of influence. We belong in medicine. We belong in education. We belong in entertainment. And we belong in politics. Somehow we bought the lie that in order to be tolerant, which by the way was a lie from the very beginning, the left in this country was never interested in tolerance. They were interested in total, complete capitulation. And that capitulation on the part of God's people, the church in specifically, and pastors absolutely, has resulted in the devastation that we now see from sea to shining sea in this great nation that we love so much. I want to encourage you, we must stop sacrificing truth on the altar of a misguided mercy. God's people are called to stand in the gap for the most vulnerable among us. We are called to lay down our lives for those who need our protection. We are called to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. Several weeks ago, when Pastor Jack called me and told me what was happening in California, and he told me about this bill, my response was literally to weep. If this doesn't make you weep for what is happening to our children, you need to wake up. Our children are our future. People keep talking about environmentalism, and we keep talking about climate change. Well, I'm here to tell you that the most precious natural resource that our nation will ever have is the next generation of young people, and it is our job to protect them. I've come down from Washington State right now to boldly declare with you, from the northernmost part of this nation and from the westernmost part of this nation, from sea to shining sea, the Democrat Party is now being put on notice. We won't take this anymore. Not only is AB 495 dangerous for children, it disregards the most fundamental right. Before our government was ever formed, the Lord of Heaven's armies made the family. God made marriage to be between a man and a woman. The family is God's institution. The reason why the family is under attack right now is because this is a spiritual battle. And men and women lean in because you can never forget this. Spiritual battles will only be won with spiritual weapons. The weapons of our warfare are praise and the worship of the Almighty God. And it is to be who God says we are in the private places of our hearts and in our homes. And when we are the people that God calls us to be in those places, then we can affect policy, and then we will see revival in the United States. I want to encourage you today to find your voice again. The left in this nation would have you believe that they are the ones that control the narrative. But the vast majority of us know that we believe, because we know God said it's true, there are only two genders, male and female. We understand that the radical medicalization of our children is an affront against the living God, and AB 495 is just an extension of the overreach that the government has already taken as an affront against parents and against God. I want to encourage you today to find your voice and go talk to your senators. Go talk to your representatives. Take to your social media accounts. Talk to your neighbors. When did we stop talking to our neighbors? When did we stop doing that? We need to use our voices again. Politics determines policy, and policy shapes the nation. As we leave this place today, I hope, and it is my prayer, that what starts here in the state of California will ripple across the country. Believe me when I say the entire nation is watching you today. They're watching you. They're praying for you. Spiritual problems require spiritual weapons. And I love that Pastor Jack opened this up by inviting the Lord of Heaven's armies to hear our feeble cries for help. God hears our prayers. Do you believe that you serve a God that's greater than the government? Then cry out to him. You are the Esthers of this generation. You are the Daniels. You are the Gideons. You are the Esthers and the Peters and the Pauls of this generation. And your children and our children need us to be who God says we are. Sons and daughters of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Get involved in politics. Run for office. Never let your voices be drowned out again by those who would do your children harm. When you hear rhetoric like what's coming out of our state capitals right now, particularly as it relates to AB 495, when these people tell you who they are, believe them. Believe them. The time for us to sit down and be quiet is over. This is the time for us to stand boldly. History will remember this day, and you know who else will remember it? Your children. Your children will remember that you were here and you stood in their defense. We stand in defense of who God says we are to who God says we are to defend. We are to love what God loves, and God loves our children. Let's stand and protect them today. Thank you for being here.
All right, guys, before we continue, look how we're using our platform tonight, folks. We're using our platform to educate people, to inform people, to defend faith and family, parental authority. We're one of the few networks tonight doing what we're doing, bringing you these keynote presentations, sounding the alarm at how dangerous this is, not just for California, but all of us for the reasons we've explained. This is what God has entrusted to us. We must use it rightly, okay? And so if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support to keep a platform out here like this that helps to inform Christians and conservatives and patriots. So please go to worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Now, before we hear some closing remarks by Pastor Jack Hibbs, how he closed out the rally today in Sacramento, I want you to go to worldviewtube.com /sponsors. Make sure you go there, support these sponsors. Some great products that we use, we endorse, one of them being Worldview Talk. I have one of their satellite phones. We talked today with Patrick Wood about all these AI data centers. He said it's not a matter of if, but when you have one or more of the 3 power grids in America go down because of all these data centers. We don't have a grid capable of doing all this. So when the power grid goes down, will you be able to get on your satellite phone? If you have one, you will. You'll be able to use a satellite phone. Your cell phones may not work, though. Cell towers might be down. Will you have a solar generator so you can at least run a few essentials? I have a solar generator from this company, Worldview Talk. How about the bulletproof backpacks and so much more? Check it out, worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. By the way, you get the Starlink, you get a Starlink for free when you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans. Their satellite phones are free when you sign up for one of their very reasonable monthly plans, all right? You also, folks, can use that phone number, 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. This is another sponsor, folks, but they only pay us when you, well, use some of their great resources. So I urge you to do it. These are important things. These are not luxury things. By the way, the minutes for the satellite roll over from month to month. So I have so many minutes. So if something happens and I have to use a satellite phone, I'm not going to worry about getting a huge bill because I'm accumulating my minutes. Okay? So again, Tina, which happens to be the sister of Dr. Bashima Williams. Tina is very generous with us, folks. It's a good company, good support. You're supporting a great company run by a great lady that has been so good to us as an organization. So please do business with them because when you do, they support us with each and every purchase as well. WorldviewTalk.com, WorldviewTalk.com, or 1-866-738-3224. All right, let's go to this closing wrap-up remarks by Pastor Jack Hibbs at the rally in Sacramento today.
Please pray for him and welcome Pastor Jack Hibbs.
So I want to encourage every pastor that's in the audience right now, because right in our church years and years ago, decades ago, there was a young lady in that church, and she just felt the understanding and the call to get involved and to make a difference. And so she came up to me and she said, listen, I have this idea about informing our local city and the voters about what's going on in their city council and the school board and all of that. And that was Gina Gleason. You heard from her a moment ago. She is absolutely amazing. And I want to say to you, Pastor, that there's someone in your church also. Look, I'm not asking you to pick up this baton and run with it. I could not do this. But Gina and her team at Real Impact, you ought to look them up, realimpact.us. There are people in your church, Pastor, that are not asking you to do it all. They want to do it. They're just asking for your thumbs up, for your approval. And I think if the church in California wakes up to do righteousness, I think there would be an amazing response, and you would see people encouraged and signing up, running for mayor or running for school board or running for PTA or assembly or senate. One spark can start things going. Our nation, we ought to know this, our state. One spark of a fire devastates this land of ours. But listen, fire in the right hands is a great thing. And I'm talking about fire in your heart, fire in your soul for what is right. And no one else is going to stand up for your child. Look, I'm a grandparent. I want to talk to grandparents. Listen, when we were parents, we did fight for our kids. But now that we're grandparents, watch out. Watch out. And it all goes to what Jonathan was saying a moment ago, that we're a family. God made you this way. And the Bible tells us that in the last days, there's going to be a battle between what is evil and what is good. Wake up, friends, and I know you are awake right here. You're in the battle, and you're holding the line, and you're making a difference. After we rally here today, and some of you are going to have the chance, you're going to be invited to sit or stand and listen to lobby instructions on how to go to your elected official from your area and hold them accountable. We'll give you the winsome, beautiful talking points on how to do that. We're not just about raising the issue before you, but we are committed to instructing you on what are your constitutional rights as a citizen. And so that's very important. But I want to announce this or say this. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 1, God spoke to the prophet and he said, listen, woe to those. I am not even going to say what that word means in Hebrew. I'm not going to say it publicly. God said, woe to those who write misfortune for the people and legislate evil in destruction. Think about that. God is speaking to the governments of the world when he said that. And God is speaking to California. And I believe God has speaking. He has been speaking to California. Can I remind all of you that you are standing in the heartland of the gold rush that changed the world, California. You are talking about a state that was the epicenter for the technology boom in computers. You are standing in the state that was the aviation revolution of the world. You're in the state that became one of the greatest economies in the entire world, and even under such pathetic leadership as this, the California industry of all of you and your businesses and what you do is still one of the greatest economies in the world, and that's not because of Newsom. In spite of Newsom, it's still standing strong. But I got to tell you, everybody, I was just on the phone a moment ago texting a friend, and I think you might know who she is. Lindsay Snyder, the owner of In-N-Out Burger. This governor's office has harassed and gone after her in ways I'm not at liberty to say. Why? Why would you drive from this state one of the most iconic businesses that was born and raised in California, In-N-Out Burger? Why would you drive them away like that? Why would you drive away now? Chevron is leaving the state of California. Why is California hemorrhaging people, and good people at that? The answer is, friends, the Bible told us all along. When the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. But when bad people rule, the people groan. And California is groaning. You know, you might go ahead and accuse God of being political if you want to. God said that. I didn't say that.
We need a revival.
Think about it. But all around the United States, think about it. This is going to hurt, so hang on to somebody. All around the United States, we are experiencing a political revival in this nation, and that's great. I'm happy for it. All around this nation, there's an economic revival that's happening, and it's going to get stronger. Listen, it's a time right now where we got to hurt a little bit, but it's going to get great. And all that's fine. Unfortunately, what I'm not encouraged about is that the spiritual revival has yet to happen in California. It has yet to happen in America. There needs to be a spiritual revival, folks, because no matter what our economy does or no matter what our politics does, at the end of the day, it is about Jesus Christ being Lord and Savior. And He's the King of Kings and He's the Lord of Lords. And believer and unbeliever must all someday stand before God. He gave you life, and He gave you a life to live. And the decisions that you make with your life, you'll have to answer back to God. We'll all be accountable individually. But God has made it clear regarding His church that we are to be a light to the world. We are to be salt. We're to make a difference. And in 2 Corinthians, not Chronicles. Look, Chronicles is 1st and 2nd Chronicles, great books. But I'm talking New Testament. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 6. This is what God asks of us. He says, will you stand in obedience to me? And by being obedient to me, I will punish all disobedience. Wow. That's not for us to do, folks. That is not our business. We don't storm the castle and we don't do... Listen, in the end, God will settle the score. In the meantime, every single one of us is to pray for the peace of our communities, to defend our children that God has put into our custody, to lead them in the things of God, and to have them be unmolested and enjoy their innocence and to enjoy their childhood. And let's make some noise in the sense that let's make sure that we vote. First of all, you need to register to vote, everybody. For crying out loud. If you please, come on, that goes without saying. Register to vote. If you don't know how to do that, you can drive to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. You can register to vote 52 Sundays a year at our church. But of course, you don't have to do that. You can register to vote almost anywhere. And then we want you to become aware of the issues. And we do that at realimpact.us. And then you go vote your biblical worldview value. Now listen, here's how you do that. You say, Pastor, everybody in my community is a bunch of crazies. They're all a bunch of godless people. That might be, but wait. We've got a way to instruct you as to how you can find out, because let's be honest, everybody, they're not going to want to hear what I'm about to say. When politicians campaign, just turn the volume off. Then go over on your computer and search their voting records. Voting records never lie. How did they vote? And if you do that, you're going to be an educated voter. And so when you do that, here's what you do. You vote a biblical worldview. And it starts with life. It starts with the preservation of life. Freedoms. Samuel Adams said that he understood freedom because of his pastor taught him freedom from that colonial pulpit. And Samuel Adams spoke to Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson turns and speaks to the rest of the founders and said, nobody understands freedom like Samuel Adams. Listen to what he has to say. And decades later, it was Thomas Jefferson who wrote, there never would have been a revolution without Samuel Adams. He was the spirit of the revolution. We live in a nation of freedom, and freedom goes to the people. And so everyone listen, register to vote, find out the candidates, where they stand on life, on marriage, and listen, find out where they stand on Israel. Oh yes. Find out where they stand on Israel. Take that trinity of truth and apply it to all the other areas. Somebody shouted a moment ago, the economy. From those three items, I can show you how it goes the rest of the way, all the way down. I call it trickle-down logic, and it works. I want to thank all of you. Before I get out of the way, I want to thank all of you for being here. Karen England, you can't miss Karen England. She's the shortest one in the crowd with the loudest red dress on possible. And she's the absolute best. Listen, I love all of you guys for coming. Keep standing. Let's see California come back as we pray on our knees and as we stand in support of what is right. God bless all of you.
All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. As always, thank you so much for supporting us. Will you please go to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution of any size to help us keep this network going? Worldviewfoundation.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. You'll find our mailing address there, too, if you prefer to support us through the mail. You know what else? You know what else we need? Spread the word far and wide about our national conference coming up. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. You can roll the music, Logan. It's rolling, and I can't even hear it. October 3rd and 4th, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Full details at worldviewstore.com. Worldviewstore.com. It's going to be a great conference. We'd love to have a lot of you here. Now, if you can't make it, you can join the Vault. If you have a year membership, you can watch the whole conference through the Vault. Worldviewtube.com/vault. Worldviewtube.com/vault. All right. Thank you so much for watching the broadcast tonight. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us on this August 19th, 2025. Well, the population of America isn't collapsing. It has collapsed. That's what all the data is showing us. And I was texting with Joe Allen today. He'll be with me tomorrow night on Brannon Howse Live. And he's been tracking technocracy and transhumanism and all this for years. And I think he learned a lot from my guest today and fellow broadcast partner,